Being 12 years in this game, I realized something, that things always took me a lot longer than I thought they would. And I had a lot more failures along the way than I thought I would, right? A lot more than I thought I would. When I first started in this game of entrepreneurship, I thought I'm going to do my first business and I'm just going to become financially free. I'm going to go clear. This is all going to work. Woo, like I've got this on lock, right? And when I started, that's what I thought. And then when I actually got going, I realized what I thought is probably far from the truth. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't expect that to be the case. I feel like we expect things to just go like this. Like you start and then it goes up and then you win. So you start, you do the things and then you win, right? But a lot of the time, it just isn't like that. Like it hasn't been for me. And it hasn't been that way for a lot of my friends that are also in business. And it hasn't been that way for, when I dig deeper, people that I'm looking at online, right? So why do we create this thing in our mind and this timeline where we think, I'm going to start, I'm going to do the stuff, I'm going to go like this, and then I'm going to win? Why do we think that? But actually, I think the even more important question is, what happens to us when we think that? What happens to us when we genuinely believe that we start, we do the thing, and then we win? Well, I think it gives us a skewed perception of what things might actually be like, right? And I'm not here to say like things can't pop off, things can't happen overnight. Obviously, we could, things like that can happen. But so when you go into this thinking that you're just going to do the thing and then you're going to win straight away, when you don't win, when it flops, when the business shuts down, that kind of mindset can make you think like, oh my God, like what the hell happened? Something's gone terribly wrong. This isn't supposed to happen. But going into it, not thinking that there might be things that come up along the way that you're not going to anticipate, that quote unquote failure can really knock you down hard, right? So when I started my first business and I realized it wasn't going to work out, I was devastated. Like I was actually on the phone to a friend crying. Don't have a 9 to 5 anymore. I've been learning how to do this stuff and everybody knows that I'm doing it and it's not working out. And I'm going to have to just move on from this because it's just not working for me. And when I made that decision, for me at that time, it felt like the end of the world. So that was like my first initiation, let's say. And then after that, I had like so many other flops. And as I went along, I was like, oh, okay, it didn't work. And then I had like amazing wins, things that worked out as well. But the only reason I was able to get to those amazing wins is because I didn't stop at the first flop. Or I didn't allow that to then dictate what I did for the next 12 years, right? And I think a lot of the time when the business doesn't work out, the sales don't come through, you realize that you don't want to do this type of business and you're going to have to move away from it. When that happens, a lot of the time people can just allow it to stop them in their tracks because it comes as a bit of a shock. And now there's also a public element to it where people know you for doing this business or they know you for going down that lane. And now you're no longer doing the business. You're no longer going down that particular lane. So you can put a lot of judgment on yourself because of that. This didn't work. People have seen me do this and now it's not worked. And you feel like almost you can't share that it's not worked. You don't want to really talk about it. You just move on, because you don't want to say, I put my time and effort into this thing that I thought was going to work. And now it's not worked. I couldn't get this to work. You don't want to say that because you don't want to hear what people have to say as a response to that because you already feel bad enough about it. So then you keep it to yourself and it puts you off starting something new because in your mind, you've already lost a certain amount of money. You've already lost a certain amount of time. You've lost the reputation. You've lost. And you don't want to publicly lose again. You don't want to try something else and then for it to not work out. And then second time, third time round. And what are people going to think? That's what you're thinking in your head. I remember back in the day, I had this chip on my shoulder of like, I don't want to be seen as someone that just keeps starting new things. But the reason why I was starting new things is because the things that I was doing weren't working out and I was figuring it out. What are people going to think? They're just going to think I'm not serious. And this was like 12 years ago when being an entrepreneur or having your own thing wasn't such of a common thing, right? So back then, it wasn't as common. So the mindset was a little bit different around it, right? But if you allow the loss to dictate what you do next for the next couple of years or the next few months, that what you perceive as that failure has now become worthless to you. So let me explain what I mean by that. We like to brand business closures, failed side hustles, all of that kind of stuff as failing at something. And yes, it is something that has not worked out and has technically failed, right? It's something that's not gone the way that you wanted it to. It didn't work out. It didn't work, right? I feel that the only way that a situation like that becomes a loss to you is if you just shut the door on it. It flopped. I'm not doing this again. I'm not putting myself through that. I don't want people to think I'm not serious. If you get in that zone, I think it actually can become a loss. And the reason why I'm saying that is because in all of the things that haven't worked out for me, when I've sat down and I've thought about them and I thought, why didn't this work? Why did I not want to continue with this business model? What did I not like about it? What is it that I hadn't learned? What part of me hadn't grown enough? When I actually thought about it and analyzed it, do you know how many lessons I got from those flops? The amount of lessons that are available to you in the things that don't work out is immense. It's so valuable. Yes, you lost the money. Yes, the business shut down. But what did you learn from it? Like where are the lessons? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about the industry? What did you learn about the market? What did you learn about the skills that you don't have? Because when you start looking at it in that way, I think you're winning. Ultimately, you're winning, because what happens is when something doesn't work out and you stop and you think about why it didn't work out, you analyze it, you look at the gaps that you have, you look at the things that went well, you understand the playing field, you now have 10, 15, 20 new things, these new tools that you can put in your toolbox and carry with you to the next business. Because you don't start in this game with all the tools a lot of the time, right? You start acquiring the tools along the way. One of the ways is learning, reading books, doing courses. And another way, which I think is one of the most powerful ways because it's the only one that directly relates to you and your situation, is what you learn when it doesn't work out. That's the only skill set, tool set that I think you can acquire that directly relates to who you are as a person. And I think that's really important, because when we're looking at other people or we're talking to other people and they're telling us about their experience and what worked for them, we are not them. We are not them, right? Our scenario, our environment, ourselves, we are not them. We don't have the exact same replica blueprint that they do, with all the other things that come into play when you're running a business. So I think the most accurate piece of data you can get is from what you've done and what you've experienced. And then, yes, obviously, all the other things that you're learning. But what a waste it would be to fail at something and not extract the learnings and the tools and the equipment from it that you can then take to your next venture. What a waste it would be. So if you've tried things in the past, or if you're currently in the middle of trying something and you're just thinking this isn't going to work out, don't be so disheartened. Obviously, yes, it's upsetting, it's not worked out, but move your attention towards what you can learn from it. Because when you take those things, whatever you do next is going to be so much stronger because now you have a whole bunch of new information that you can take. When I've had things not work out in the past, when I've actually stopped to review it afterwards, at that point, I'm like, oh my God, it's obvious to me why this didn't work out. Like, why did I not see this when I was in it? Sometimes it's easier to see things from an external view once you've detached yourself from it. When you're in the day-to-day runnings and you're in the mud and you're in the mix, sometimes you can't see like what you need to do or what's going wrong. It's like when you look at somebody else's thing and you're like, oh, I can see what you need to do. Like, it's very clear to me because your mind isn't bogged down with the day-to-day running. It's not so cluttered. You're looking at it from a much clearer point of view. And that can also happen once you've removed yourself from your own business and you can clearly look at it. And a lot of the time it's glaring. It's glaring at you like, oh, this is why it didn't work. So I think you have to do that. You need to extract the lessons. And then if you've decided you want to stay in that game of building your own thing, take those lessons with you, take them to the next thing that you're going to do. Because I guarantee you that next time when you come across that issue that you had with that first business or the previous business, you will now be able to see it so differently because you have the information, you have new tools, you've got new glasses to look at the situation with. So in my opinion, businesses that shut down, ideas that don't work, they're not your biggest liabilities a lot of the time. They're your biggest assets when you actually take them and learn from them and move forward with that new information. So if that's you, sit down, review it all and extract as much as you can because by doing that, you'll put yourself in a much more empowered position.